Economists have warned that the federal government's decision to raise capital gains tax to 30% may discourage foreign investors and dampen activities in the Nigerian equities market. Now, Nigeria's new tax law set to take effect on January 1st, 2026, represents a significant overhaul of the country's fiscal framework. These reforms embodied in several new acts, including the Nigerian Tax Act, the Nigerian Tax Administration Act, and the Nigerian Revenue Service Act, are designed to streamline the tax system, broaden the tax base, and, of course, promote economic growth and the outlook of the entire nation. For companies, the capital gain tax rate is increased from 10% to 30%, aligning it with the company's income tax rates. For individuals, capital gains will now be taxed at applicable progressive income tax rate based on their income band. According to him, the new tax regime directly impacts the returns investors take home, a development that could trigger a decline in the market participation. Well, let's talk to a tax practitioner, the president, sitting president of the West African Union of Tax Institutions. Now, he's also the former president of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. So he wears many caps. Vamos, thank you so much for being here. It's good to have you, Mr. Samuel Agbeluyi.
It's my pleasure, Tolu. Good to be here.
Thank you so much. Let's do an overview of these laws. And there's a lot of misinformation. You would agree with me, Mr. Agbeluyi. There is so much of misinformation with regards to this tax law, and it's very close to implementation date.
You see, like I've been saying since this episode started, I've been talking about the massive nature of what President Tinubu has introduced. It's massive, and many people will get it from different angles, particularly as it concerns their interest. But suffice to say that the tax law that we have, that will be taking effect from January 2026, is pro-poor, has human face, and we help Nigeria economy. If anybody is not accepting this, then I wonder what to accept. So that is the general perspective, and that is what we have in the law. That does not take away the fact that some aspect of those law, the four acts, we now have an area whereby may not be perfect, and we know there's no perfect document on that. So, and within what we know in Nigeria, Nigeria is a very civilized country. People try to underplay this. By virtue of the structure we know, whatever and anything that is not properly conceived, the implementation will trigger such. And there's always been a kind of way out of that. And the most effective one that comes to mind has been the usage of Finance Act to correct whatever the government sees as a weak end or weak point of any law, the administration of any law. So we have that, and I can't wait to get to January 2026 to be part of the implementation of what we have before us. The President has done very well. National Assembly has done very well. The Presidential Committee has done very well. And the citizens of the country has also done well, because there has been a kind of unimaginable interest. I've been a tax practitioner for almost all my adulthood life. There has been no time where public interest in taxation has been gotten to this level. So it's good, and it's a signal to the fact that Nigeria will soon be, the trajectory will be moving forward, and we have enough money to finance our public expenditure.
And that's an interesting one. At least we are really moving aggressively now to the non-oil space, which is something I know you've talked about for a long while. But let me ask you specifically the issue around capital gains tax. Yes, I was expecting that look already. Immediately I asked that. Tell us more about this, because for us journalists, there's been a series of questions around this issue of capital gains tax and what it means for our markets, particularly stock markets, investor confidence, and all of that.
Okay, thank you very much. I like your intro. You brought out the issue properly in your intro. And from finance perspective, whether it is a tax or anything, the difference of 10% increase or decrease is very material. That is the truth. So, and so we don't expect, or I don't expect an investment population who will see that level of increase in the capital gain tax. I will not comment. Now, the issue is people have raised eyebrow about the threshold, which is 150 million. If you do anything within 150 million, your whatever is the gain will not be available for capital gain tax. If your gain in absolute figure is 10 million, it won't go. It won't be subjected to capital gain tax. And if you reinvest, there are conditions to this. Whatever. If you reinvest that within the year of assessment, it will also not qualify for capital gain tax. That is the major part. But why, you see, I'm also a stockbroker, and I know that sector is information sensitive.
Very sensitive.
The players in that place, they thrive on information. So, like I said before, 20% increase is massive, but we also need to look at the interests of the country and international rate. What are the rates outside this country? And to that extent, I'm happy. And I think the people are the managers of the finance of this country, as we currently have them, they are doing a very good job. I was greatly happy the day I saw the Minister of Finance at the capital market. You know, if the CBN governor cough, and the cough is like, people can read the cough as the banking sector is not good.
Yes.
They'll be wrong on the banks. So the Minister of Finance sensed what was going on, and he came into the capital market to make that declaration himself. That is very helpful. And I know that a lot of works are going on at the background to look at what has been approved. And, you know, a lot of circulars will be coming from FRS as to the specific implementation of all this that have been embedded in the Tax Act. So you can't have all the information in the Tax Act as we have there. So the FRS, we need to break them down for the purpose of implementation. And I know that is going on. And by virtue of the comment made by the Honorable Minister of Finance, I expect something to be done along that path. Because the capital market is the barometer by which we measure the economy of any country. And for our sanity, and I use that word advisedly, Nigeria cannot afford for that sector that has done very well since the coming of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to go down by virtue of this singular aspect of the practice in that market. So to that extent, I believe that ahead of the implementation date, the government will come out to do something about it.
Because immediately after the minister went to the market and made that position, that declaration, there was this calm and there was a rebound after the market lost about 4.6 trillion. The next day, that rebound came in. So I'm just wondering how this or what this means for investors, because you know these investors, they quickly sit on the fence and immediately they're not sure about anything.
You know the nature of the capital market is that the major investors, they drive the market.
Yes.
The small investors, right? If you have the right information, you can ride on the back of the major investors. And for them, 150 million is a small money, even though, and that's why some people are concerned about that threshold. People are doing billions. So if you say 150 million, it doesn't matter to them. It's like you are not giving them anything.
Yes.
And so, to the extent that the government is sensitive to it, which is very important, the sector is dynamic. The world itself is dynamic. And so you can't have anything that you have power over to control, and you sit back, you are not controlling. So I'm happy for what the government has done, and I'm happy and I'm positive that something will come out of that comment. Because a lot of the statistics are very encouraging in terms of our GDP, in terms of our exchange rate, in terms of what is happening in the capital market. The capital market says a lot about the wealth of a nation and the belief, the confidence. It is not easy to have people from outside of the Nigerian environment coming to invest in Nigeria. So it says a lot about the confidence people have in our economy. And so, taxation is said generally. It's not essentially about revenue collection. It's an instrument of economic administration. So if you look at, on one hand, what Nigerians stand to benefit by having a very great capital market that people across the world can trust against the revenue you get by raising to 30%, you need to juxtapose and say, okay, I decide in favor of a stable economy. The revenue will come over time. And personal opinion is that you can face this 20%. You could say, okay, in the next 2 years, we move it to 15. In another 4 years, we move it to 20, as the case may be. Personal opinion, anyway. Yeah. I know a lot of thinking has gone into what that 30%. But whichever way, what is important is that we have the finance team at the federal level that are so sensitive and responding to whatever is happening in the capital market.
Well, that's really a good one. Back to the implementation of the entire 4 laws. That is something that is also in the front burner. Now, do you think this will be entirely seamless? Because already we've had this with capital gains tax. Maybe in some quarters, we've been hearing a series of comments, of course, and concerns being raised. But my question really is, how seamless do you expect the implementation of this to be?
I'm not expecting absolute seamless implementation. It's not going to happen. And like I said before, there's no document in the world that we anticipate everything. But by virtue of where everybody is, and when I say everybody, I'm looking at the federal government, the state government, and local government. I expect less headache from the federal government because FRS has been on the move. And I say that because I know FRS have been on the move even before now. They have a very good package that is responsive to whatever you want to talk about the tax system. Not all the states are ready. Some states are still manually run. And so I wonder what benefit you tend to get from this new act. And this is very important. The benefit, the real benefit of this introduction of the new act reside with the state government. Because there has been no major increase in terms of rate for tax that be collected by federal government. But there has been increase in rate of taxes that be collected, particularly payee for personal income tax for the, the state government. And so to that extent, and to that extent, what the state will be getting for the high network, high individual network,
yes,
we move up. The rate has moved from an average of 21% to 25%, and that 4% or 3%, as the case may be, is significant. And it's going to, the benefit will go to the state, and the fallout of even the adjustment of the VAT will go to the state. But if you are not ready, if you can't function. You can't. I wonder what is going on in the mind of some governors. You can't function with obsolete ICT, and in some places no ICT at all. When we are talking of the implementation of it's not possible. Again, the personnel, you can't populate the tax administration at the state with political followers, people who knows next to nothing about taxation and tax administration. It's a difficult one. It's a technical job. And it's not easy to collect tax anywhere in the world. So you need to be prepared. You need to give the state, Internal Revenue Service, autonomy. Go and bring the chairman from anywhere you can get the good one. This is not the time to say, to be parochial. And once you get the chairman, there must be a kind of freedom by way of autonomy, so that he can hire and fire. He gets target, and he will look through the law, and he will make money for your state. Once you have the money, you have the liberty to spend this money for the populace. So the moment you bring in your brother or your political ally, it's not going to, everybody will not get the same result. I know that. So, but generally, there will be some hiccups, but I think we are good. We have properly trained tax professionals in the country who can do whatever will be the fallout of the implementation of these acts.
Finally, the non-all opportunities which we talked about, governments, focusing more on revenue from that space, and that's part of why we have these tax reforms and all. But are there other possible opportunities in the non-oil space? And you touched on the role of tax professionals. Practically, what will be their roles in this process moving forward?
Well, the closest example I give to my colleagues is that, like you have always been having family medical doctors. This is the time whereby individual we require for their sake personal family tax professional who will consult for them. Not necessarily that it must be company, but in addition to that, there is a limit. There is a limit to which you can drag the revenue you can get from taxation, because the fundamental is the economy. And so what to derive in terms of tax revenue will be a function of your economic activities. So I strongly suggest that beyond taxation, the government should do away with a lot of these government agencies and companies that they are not putting anything into the purse of the country. Public-private partnership is highly recommended. I wonder why you still have, there are about 100 government agencies that Nigeria should not be having budget for. Put them in the hands of private individuals. You have more money to go into other areas. Two, once they function very well, they'll be able to pay tax. So you are winning from all fronts. But why successful government has not been able to face this head-on, I can't understand. My best, and I travel everywhere in this country, my best local airport is MM2. That was built by a private initiative. So why do you still allocate budget? You still find from this little money we have, and you still have opportunity to give money to Radio Corporation of Nigeria, all manners of agencies. Whereas you can do away with them, put them in the hand of an individual. And I tell the workers there, one of the driving force behind the success of private entity, private outfit, is that they pay their workers well.
Yeah.
So this fear of if you privatize, we will lose our job or we will not get enough money, is not founded. So rather than over-concentrate on tax revenue, the government should also do with a lot of agencies that are not helping this country in any way.
The role of tax professionals, as we wrap that up.
Head or tail. Whether you are talking of privatization, whether you are talking of merger and acquisition, whether you are talking of existing, whatever, the tax professional must be called into it. Because any misadventure in your tax decision going forward will have implication, direct implication on your going concern. That is very key. And so the taxman must be with you in the boardroom. He must be with you when you are doing the policy formulation, so that it is not when you are in the trouble, you start doing a fire brigade, calling the tax professional to come. It must be part of your tax planning and tax management going forward. And with that, everybody will be good. The spirit and the philosophy of this tax law, as I know it, and I will repeat again, is not punitive. But you need to be smart. And you need to be honest. Because in the short run, if you are not honest, you think you have gone away. The ICT that this government will be deploying will still catch up with you and you pay more. So do the right thing, be ethically correct, and be patriotic so that we can all move Nigeria forward.
Mr. Samuel Agbeluyi is the president, West African Union of Tax Institutes, former president, Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. Thank you so much for making sense of this topic. And I like the last line. We need to just do what is right, ethically correct, so that we can stand firm anytime. Yes, thank you so much for being on the program. We appreciate this.
Thank you for having me.
All right, then. Well, before we go,